Welcome to Goodfellas History. I'm one of your hosts, Davis.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm Nick.
And today we are going to be talking about the Frito-Lay strike, and I'm going to lead into kind of just unions in general and go over some statistics on that. So I'm sure you guys have already heard about this, but there was a strike going on with Frito-Lay, specifically in Kansas. It's basically just about a 19-day strike. It was several hundred people from one of the plants here. And basically the biggest reason that they wanted to strike were these so-called suicide shifts and these poor working conditions at the manufacturing and distribution plant. What's really sad about this, and kind of why I wanted to go over it, is that there's the company's net revenue, and this is the biggest part here. It's exceeded all of its targets. So they're making more money than they were anticipating, and they're making money like just hand over fist right now, while employers are saying sweltering 90-degree temperatures on the picket line are preferable to the 100-degree plus heat that's inside the manufacturing warehouse. So they don't have like
dangerous.
AC. Yeah. So, it gets worse, Garrett. They're in the next article here.
No.
I read something when I was rereading it. I was like, holy crap, are you kidding me?
Oh, God.
Let's get into it. So the demands from the strikers, they're basically saying they want an end to mandatory overtime, and this is the staggering one: 84-hour work weeks that leave little room for a meaningful quality of life. Yeah. I was looking at the general statistics on this. It was like one out of every three employees was doing oftentimes mandatory overtime that could lead up to this 84-hour work week.
So they must be making close to minimum wage if they're making 44 hours of overtime and the company's allowing that.
Yeah, so I mean, PepsiCo released a statement on this, and they were saying it was all no, they make a lot of good money here and whatnot, but I didn't include that in there because honestly, I don't want to take Frito-Lay and PepsiCo with their word on this.
Yeah, they might be a little biased to
exactly
diminish this.
Yeah, see, it says PepsiCo disputes their claims, calling them grossly exaggerated. It says a recent contract offer delivered earlier this month met the terms of the workers' union, but that one got declined, and they actually went on strike afterwards. So clearly it wasn't good enough. So first off, let's get right into this. They call for end of the suicide shifts. And we'll get into why it's called that in a second, which is just crazy. It says the use of forced overtime at the plant results in so-called suicide shifts, where many of the more than 800 workers of the plant are only getting an 8-hour break between their shifts. So a lot of the time, they'll work a 12-hour shift, have 8 hours, and in that 8-hour slot, they have to factor in driving time, getting to and from the plant, and then they have to be back again.
And eating and sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. And so
you have to sleep for 8 hours apparently.
Yep.
So
and so it's getting that's why they're calling it the suicide shift. It's you do not have a life in this at all. So you only have 8 hours off to get home, shower, see your family, get some sleep, and get back to work. It's an unsustainable schedule that has been instituted, he says, as a way to put off addressing a larger staffing shortage for about 100 employees. This is coming from Paul Clem. He is one of the leaders of the workers' union for the Frito-Lay area. The plant, which is one of 30 in the U.S., employs 850 people. Officials say only about 20, approximately 2%, averaged over 60 hours per week. And this has been kind of disproven because Frito-Lay actually released their timesheets on this. And as I said, it was about a third of people that are constantly doing overtime. Now, Frito-Lay came out and said our records indicate 19 employees worked 84 hours in a given week, which is still crazy to me. And then This is the part that's really iffy, with 16 of those as a result of employees volunteering.
Now, I don't 44 hours of overtime.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't know. I'm sure we've all worked these kind of jobs before, but volunteering usually is not as voluntary as they make it sound.
You're not volunteering. You're voluntold.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the most I've ever worked was maybe close to 60 hours per week between two jobs.
Mm-hmm. So back with the restaurants when I was opening them, I hit 60-hour work weeks for a while, and that was super burnt me out. I can't even imagine an 84-hour work week.
I got close to that when I was working for the Idaho Department of Corrections. So, like, we weren't unionized. Obviously, we're in Idaho. And, like, when I was working the graveyard shift, like, every day, there was about a month or two where every day I was stuck doing 4 hours of overtime. Every day. Every day. And
Which is just brutal.
And when you are already working the graveyard shift, I'm telling you right now, mistakes increased. Like, there were so many problems with this. And it was just because they were so short-staffed. And the reason why they were so short-staffed is that, A, as a job, it sucks. You're working in a prison. And B, like, the pay was better than minimum wage. It was double minimum wage. When I first started, it was like $13, $15 an hour, which was pretty good for, like, your first job. But when you were there for a bit and you basically go through the grind, like, it's really not worth that. This is a job where you should be making at least $20 an hour. And had they done that, like, they probably would have kept a lot more people, because financially speaking, it would have been a really good job to have. It would have been a not a comfortable job, but it would have been a stable job with decent benefits. But, like...
Well, what kind of blows my mind about this, and kind of getting into that, is that a lot of the time, like, the company stands to lose less money if they just pay the people more to begin with. Because this is how you get, like, lawsuits and deaths, which we're going to get into in the next article, actually.
Well, and also, I would be interested to see, I don't know if this is a part of your segment, but Frito-Lay's attendance policy.
I don't have that. I would love to see that, though.
When you work a 12-hour period and you have only 8 hours to do everything, I bet people have slept in. And is it like a very strict, like, you're late a few times you get fired sort of thing? Or do they... I bet, I want to wager it's probably something like that.
I will tell you from my personal experience, just working at the prison, like, this sounds like the same shit I was dealing with, where you're voluntold, if you don't do it, you can get written up.
Yeah.
Even though you're volunteering to do it, because then it turns into, well, I'm asking you to do it, but I can also tell you to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, a lot of the time how they'll do it is they're like, like, a lot of people really want this job. I really need your help right now. Mm-hmm. And so then it's, like, voluntary, but if you don't do it, you're going to get written up,
Exactly. And the thing is that, I feel for these people because, like, I've experienced this firsthand. Like, it's shitty. It's absolutely shitty.
It's brutal.
Yep.
This is one of the reasons why I want there to be public sector unions.
I agree, and unfortunately, this is the part that really makes me mad, getting into this next article, actually. I don't think the union did enough in this instance. So, as I said, the Frito-Lay worker, they did end the 19-day strike in Kansas with a contract that guarantees 1 day off per week.
What the hell?
And Garrett, it only gets worse, my man.
Wow, that's so, like, thank you so much for giving us 1 day off a week.
Yeah,
I
think you're actually going to go off more in a second. So hundreds of Frito-Lay employees, and this is from the Washington Post, by the way. So hundreds of Frito-Lay employees are returning to work in Kansas, ending a 19-day strike with a weekend ratification. Garrett, so that 1 day off a week is in a 2-year contract. So after 2 years, that ends, too.
What?
That 1 day off a week.
So they were working every single day.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm saying they were working every single day, and after this contract ends in 2 years, it could be the same thing again.
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind.
So after 104, because there's 52 weeks in a year, 52 days off. After 104 days off, the contract expires.
It's gone again.
Do they get holidays? I'm assuming they don't.
I have no idea. I would assume they don't as well.
Yeah.
The only other thing that they got out of this was some raised wages. And, like, the article doesn't even say how much. Honestly, I bet you it's not enough. Like, looking at this, I was like, are you kidding me?
Well, yeah. Oh my god. Okay.
I'm trying to find... There was one part of this. Yeah, so they are forcing the current... This is getting back into why they were striking in the first place, but there was one part of this article I felt was really important to talk about as well. So workers do not have enough time to see their family, do chores around the house, run errands, or even get a healthy night's sleep. So no, they were not getting holidays off, Garrett.
What the hell? See, this is kind of why I hate, like, the libertarian argument of, like, oh, get rid of the minimum wage, get rid of overtime, and then that way competition will just kind of be the main driving force as to, businesses offering better incentives. And it's like, no, because then even in the system we have now, you get shit like this.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually something I wanted to talk about, because I feel like the libertarian argument on this has already been disproven. Because like you look back at like the Great Depression and whatnot, like during the Industrial Revolution and everything, like people were just dying in the workplace, and the company did not care.
I'm gonna tell you guys right now, the libertarian argument is horseshit. I mean, if you're basing your arguments off of fucking Ayn Rand, I don't know what to tell you. That lady was fucking nuts. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, that's really crazy, is that she never worked a factory job. She never worked in industry. This lady, I mean, she escaped the horrors of Soviet Union, Russia. Okay, cool, fine. She makes it to the U.S. And where does she? She goes to Hollywood. Like, she's the beginning of this failed Hollywood reactionary trend. Like Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder. The list goes on and on of these people who think that they have these great ideas, these brilliant
things. They're just built different from every other human.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, there's a difference between fucking George Lucas and Ben Shapiro, though. One actually has a fucking imagination.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like,
well, and it's just... Sorry.
It's like Ayn Rand's, like... Have you guys ever read Atlas Shrugged?
I have, and it was a mess.
There's literally a part of the book where people die in a train wreck, okay? And supposedly they died on this train wreck due to overregulation, which is really strange. And then she goes off listing why every single one of the passengers on that train actually deserved to die. And it's because they're all moochers. Mm-hmm. Like, this is fascist shit.
Like, yeah, dude, the book's wild. You should definitely read it.
I'm sorry, like, this is fascist shit. Like, this is fascist mindset. Like, if you don't believe in democracy, I'm sorry, there's an idea out there for you, and it's usually called fascism. Like, there's no real alternative. There's really no alternative to this. It's this idea of, if I own a business and people work for me, I own those people.
Yep. Businesses will not put people above maximizing their profits. They just won't.
No.
And so when they can get away with it, if you want to take out all these regulations, people are going to be paid less than minimum wage. They're going to, work overtime without getting, compensated for that extra time, because companies want the maximum amount of profits that they can get. That's just how it is.
Also, add on top of it, companies, like, there's a reason why slavery existed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We are the exact same creatures that existed less than 150 years ago, right?
Yeah.
When slavery existed in the United States. It's just asking for slavery. And it's rationalized, and once again, they'll rationalize it. They already do rationalize it. If you talk to libertarians about this shit, they already dehumanize, fast food workers. Mm-hmm. They'll dehumanize these people because they don't value human life. It's all about the bottom line. And at the end of the day, this is the reason why, like, I don't care how polished or how educated you are. If you don't support, basic human conditions, treating people like human beings and allowing them to have some dignity and their own fucking life, you're asking for trouble. Mm-hmm. I don't care how smart or how clever you think you are or how much you got it figured out. The Germans thought they had it figured out. The Tsar in Russia thought he had it figured out. The Qing dynasty thought he had it figured out. Like, people will revolt. And, I'm not in favor of revolts. There are a lot of these idiot tankies out there who love this idea of the revolution. I don't. Revolutions are fucking dangerous. Because oftentimes some of the most reactionary and insane people are the people who also tend to gather the most violent people. And when you gather violent people in the middle of a revolution, you have guns. And you seize power because they want power.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the policies. It's not about the issues at that point. It's about power at that point. The institutions that are designed to hold everyone back are crumbled. Like, revolutions are a nasty affair. And I think that this romanticization of it, and I can go after Marx on this too, The romanticization and fetishization of the French Revolution speaks clearly to the ignorance of people not understanding what actually happened in the French Revolution. The image of the poor people, the peasants, and the poor people of Paris rising up against their masters really wasn't the thing that happened. That didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Maybe for a day, but then the same power brokers and the same people who want power ended up seizing power. I mean, there's a guy by the name of Robespierre, and Robespierre has a lot in common with a guy named Vladimir Lenin. And, both of them were succeeded by, well, a even more tyrannical regime. So, I know I'm ranting right now. So
I was going to say, we'll get back on the topic there, because actually you mentioned something I did want to talk about as well. You mentioned kind of libertarians talking about bottom line. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line for PepsiCo is right now, last year it was $217 billion value in their stocks, which went up 8.9% from in 2021 and 14.1% year over year. It continues to go at that rate. So they're doing great on top of everything else. They're making money just hand over fist.
And a lot of that's probably from stock buybacks, too.
Exactly. Let's see, who was this? This was, all right, so Cherry Renfro wrote of a toxic work environment driven by iron-fisted management. And actually, what she went into is the whole reason I saved this article. So she said that the employees were made to work in dense smoke and fumes during and after a fire that happened. It's just smoke. She said that some of the workers did not receive hazard pay during the pandemic, and that safety concerns were brushed aside by supervisors. Now, Garrett, this is the part that I wanted you to see in particular. And when a worker collapsed on the line and died, they had to move the body and put another coworker to keep the line going.
Oh my god. It's kind of like that book. What was that book? The Jungle? Mm-hmm. Where people were getting their freaking fingers chopped off and so, they just wrapped it up and kept going.
And so when I hear, people say that we need to have less regulation and not more, I look at this and I'm like, it's not great still, guys. It's not good.
And human beings aren't an infinite resource. If you kill enough of them, you're going to have a hard time finding more people. If you want to think about humans as a resource.
Mm-hmm. And what makes it worse, Garrett, is about that the body I was talking about, the person who died. Frito-Lay technically didn't deny it. They said that it wholly rejects Renfro's allegations, but the company said it is aware of 2 incidents in the past 5 years in which an employee experienced a medical emergency at the plant and later died.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's just fucking newspeak.
Wholly rejected.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what we're seeing right here, guys, is that, the monopoly of steel, coal, and car manufacturing is what put Adolf Hitler in his position of power. A lot of people have this weird, strange mythos of the Nazis being this external force, and it's because nobody wanted to own their behavior before their rise to power. But this is monopoly behavior. Mm-hmm. This is fascism.
Yeah,
the corporate sector, corporations, the corporate mindset is inherently fascist. I mean,
I absolutely 100% agree.
I might say this a lot, but I mean, this is what I'm getting at with what I was trying to talk about with my idea and ideals.
Mm-hmm.
This, corporations, let's think about it. What else is a CEO except for a Führer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
The dictator of people's lives. Now, granted, he doesn't have the power to arrest you. He doesn't have the power to execute you. But he has tremendous power over your life. And he
have you work and smoke, I feel like, is a kind of putting you to an execution in a way.
Right. And so, once again, this kind of gets to my point. These are employees, right? And they're made to work in these incredibly hazardous conditions. Not because the company is in trouble, but because it wants to maximize even more of its profit share. And, and it's not just libertarian arguments. We can go after libertarians, but there's also a problem with the liberal mindset when it comes to this, too. Because I'm pretty sure they get enticed by the concept of efficiency.
Yeah.
Maximizing capacity. Look at all the benefits to the community.
Yeah.
They are accommodated. I mean, these are words that are designed to appeal to an educated mindset of people that would otherwise find this completely deplorable and disgusting, but it's masked in this very
it's presented, as you
technical
said,
word.
kind of like that newspeak stuff. It's like presented in a way that's like more palatable for people.
Like, scroll up for a second, like, to this paragraph right here. Down a little bit. Statements, one, Frito-Lay says it wholly rejects Rufino's allegation. The company said it's aware of incidents
Incidents in the past 5 years
in which an
experienced a
employee
medical emergency.
at the
Like,
plant and later died. Now, what does that mean in real life? It says
The person died, yeah.
It's like with flipping Trump, where he's like, I don't think teachers should have guns in classrooms, but I think that in some cases teachers should have guns in classrooms. This is newspeak. This is double talk. This is double speak. So, I mean, like, this is the thing that, like, I want people to, when they read these things, to take in consideration that even the Washington Post, to a certain degree here, is giving them a little bit of a cover-up of a blemish. Like, if this was honestly written, it would basically say Frito-Lay wholly rejects Rufino's accusations, but the company is aware that two events just like this happened in the last 5 years, where somebody experienced, like, had a heart attack or had a stroke and they died at the plant because they weren't given access to
they just filled in their spot, which is the crazy part. Had us move in a body and put in another coworker to keep the line going.
Like,
call someone in. Hey, so and so died. Can you come into work?
Like, oh my gosh!
Wow. Okay. I mean, talk about employee morale. You have the person next to you just dying. Are you going to be at like 100%? No. You'd be like traumatized.
Oh, so you could still come into work, right?
Like,
what?
Oh my god!
And this is just, and the thing is like, this is success. This is automation, baby. This is innovation. Think of how innovative that manager was to not get stressed out when one of his employees experienced a medical emergency. That he had a cool, calm head to actually call somebody and kept that line going.
Oh my gosh.
This is shit that I'm pretty sure was mailed out. I'm pretty sure that manager got an email like that. I'm pretty sure, like within the company newsletter or whatever bullshit they have, that was something like that was said. And at a board meeting about it, they probably had something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, this just shows you that bottom line profit of that day for that line was worth more than that employee's life.
Yeah.
Worth more than that employee's dignity. Worth more than the employees working there's mental well-being and physical well-being. Just for that day.
Oh.
Like, they could have shut the plant down. It would have sucked. But there was an extraneous, emergency that took place. You also got to think of the fact that, this is a plant that's still going. They moved the body. Like who moved the body? This person could still be saved. Like, there's negligence involved in this. Like, there's so much involved in this. Where, like, did the paramedics show up and say he was dead? Like, what the
And it happened twice. It wasn't just once, but 2 incidents in the past 5 years. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Do you know if they get life insurance or accidental death coverage at this company?
So, Garrett, here's where I'm going to really black pill you on that.
Oh,
so, yeah, so a lot of the times, and this is the problem, like, leading into it, yes, they probably do get life insurance or insurance covered in this, but however, here's the problem with having your insurance tied with your work. A lot of the times when you get hurt, you can't actually work anymore, so that gets canceled because you're no longer there.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
But
this is why we need our
if you die there, though, then they would have to obviously honor the accidental death.
I don't know, because I've heard in the past, like, there's, like, loopholes around it, and this is why I think...
Well, I bet there is.
Oh, Garrett, I'm going to explain something to you. You know what happens to that person that's injured? They get on welfare.
Yeah.
So the public basically covers for their fucking negligence. Not the person's negligence, the company's negligence.
Yeah.
They're put on welfare.
Well...
And that's not to say that's going to be the equivalent of what they lost in wages. They're now on welfare. They're stuck with that income. If they're able to find another job, great. But, like, likelihood of them finding a job that paid as well as this one diminishes. They could become a Walmart greeter.
Well, and another thing that, like, when they care so much about the bottom line, when you have people dying, like a lot of people dying, your incentive to keep in that accidental death coverage or that life insurance, it goes down because you're having to pay out so much money. And it sounds like they don't care about improving the conditions. So,
No.
do you know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
because
Yeah.
Garrett, what you're trying to do is think like a rational human being.
yeah.
Like a rational,
I try.
everyday human being, okay?
Yeah.
The people who run this, they don't care. We're serfs, man. We're
Yeah.
peasants. We're beneath them.
Yeah.
We have the baby boomer generation embraced this sense of aristocracy, and they never looked back. The
my God.
people's generation, like, goddamn.
So Garrett, it gets more with Frito-Lay, and this is the other reason I wanted to bring it up. I don't. Have you heard about this yet? The More Perfect Union.
I feel like I have.
So this man was recently electrocuted by using the dock doors. There was just faulty electrocution, and it electrocuted him and like didn't paralyze him, but it did like handicap him, obviously.
Yeah.
But because he was out of work, like he couldn't work anymore, he ended up with a liver disease and a pinched nerve caused by 2 herniated discs. He went to the ER. The company did not give Brandon any time off after the incident. They forced him to call in sick the next day because of that.
No.
Yeah, and so it gets even worse because then they have denied his short-term disability, but they approved his long-term one. So for the short term, he wasn't making any money, so he wasn't able to see a lot of doctors. So finally, when he was able to save up and like have a surgery, the doctor said that if he hadn't have done that, a small fall or accident could have paralyzed him because of this. It's crazy. Now, in response, because then he finally sued Frito-Lay because they weren't helping him, private investigators, Frito-Lay hired private investigators to try and discredit Brandon's injury. So in court, they were like filming him and his like wife and their kids. So that's what they have money for.
Instead of just paying
Exactly, instead of just paying
his
out.
medical costs or whatever, but they have the money to hire private investigators to try to discredit, and then pay money to go through a lawsuit too.
Exactly.
It's once again, like, I keep telling you guys this. The money's great, but it's not the power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
people
about
have-
the power dynamic at that point.
They have a hard-on. It's about control. It's about power. The corporation doesn't want to give up any of its power, any of its money. It'll fuck you over. It'll fuck you sideways if it feels like it might lose out on any of its ill-gotten gains. So, like, don't get me wrong. Like, there are probably plenty of businesses and corporations out here that don't behave in this brutal of fashion. But this mindset that we're seeing right here is the bedrock of the corp mindset. There are people who are reading this that are getting hard-ons, thinking, "Oh, I didn't think about that."
Oh, that's such a good idea. That's the way to do
Because
it.
the way they see it,
No, definitely.
it might actually be cheaper to hire those investigators to disprove this person in court than it is to actually pay him out. And the difference is like maybe marginal. But once again, that's a marginal difference, and it's about maximizing profits. So instead of the government, the thing is that this sounds like violations of federal health codes and federal health protections, but where's the federal fucking government? Where's the government of these states?
Found in this.
Like, there are probably laws in the state that prohibit that kind of behavior.
Well, I'm sure Frito-Lay pays a lot of politicians oodles of money so that they're not incentivized to really pay attention to this kind of stuff.
Once
Which
again,
is what... Go ahead.
Once again, this is a perfect example of the fact that there are laws in the books that already exist. The issue is not laws in the books, it's getting people who are willing to enforce the goddamn laws.
Yeah.
You know, and this is why I get pissed at the fucking Jimmy Dore stands. They're all out there LARPing with their People's Party movement and the Green Party, two non-entities, when they should be going to Democratic Party establishments, and even Republican Party establishments, and making it abundantly clear, Like, I love this pro-workerist, phase the Republican Party is in right now. Because they're not talking about this. This is happening underneath Trump, and this is happening underneath Biden.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the company knows it's able to get away with this shit because unions right now aren't that powerful.
And that's actually what I wanted to kind of lead up to in the end with this, because unions are not as strong as they should be by like any metric. But even when they're not that strong, let's just go over these statistics. This is from the Economic Policy Institute. I just kind of want to go over the rough numbers.
Yeah.
Unions raise wages of unionized workers by roughly 20%. They raise compensation, including both wages and benefits, by about 28% compared to your just average worker. They reduce wage inequality. And then strong unions set a pay standard that non-union employers follow. For example, a high school graduate whose workplace is not unionized, by whose industry is 25% unionized, is paid 5% more. Let's see. They also pay about 18% lower healthcare deductibles and a smaller share of the cost for family coverage in retirement. They're also 24% more likely to be covered by health insurance paid for by their employer.
Yeah, I would love to see these numbers higher.
Mm-hmm.
So what's really fascinating is that... Sorry, boss.
No, go ahead.
Why don't corporations cover 100% of your medical care?
That's a great question.
Because they have a contract with you and with the insurance company that they're going to cover a certain proportion, or if certain incidents happen. But that's why there's a deductible with your insurance. The deductible is out of pocket. Why don't insurance cover all of your health care? You're paying for insurance, right?
Oh yeah, pay for it monthly.
Because then that's socialism.
Well, no, it's not. Like, this was if capitalists out there were smart and they wanted to save the private health insurance industry, they'd cover all the costs. Their bottom line would be what you pay each month or each year to the insurance company. But the thing is that's not profit maximization. They'd lose a lot of stock money in that because now their main source of income, which are the deductibles and those yearly incomes, will go away. So there's more money out of pocket.
Yeah, so, it's just crazy. And I mean, unions, like, as I said, they're not the be-all, end-all with this. I think that we need a lot more government, like, regulation, like, strength with that to kind of step in. But unions are a really, really, really good way just to get, like, everyday workers' voices at least heard with the corporations.
Just to feel like you have some say in your
Exactly. They have a lot of power and, like, sway to push for, like, agendas for just everyday employees. So I really think that we need to be a lot more hands-on with them on that.
Yeah.
But guys, don't you understand? Unions disrupt efficiency.
They disrupt efficiency, huh?
Efficiency.
Whoa.
Efficiency for moving dead bodies out of the way.
They disrupt the cost assessment of the corporation. Oh. Unions interfere between management and their employees. They're an unnecessary middleman.
I don't really care, seeing as, productivity has gone up and wages have it, and these corporations have been reaping the benefits for so long.
I'm basically telling you what wine moms hear, okay?
I know, and that's my response to them.
I think a better response is that, what the hell are you talking about? What does that mean? What does efficiency mean?
How do you measure the best way possible?
But how who measures that? Who measures it? It's not a matter of what it is. It's who measures efficiency.
Exactly.
Like, I might mow the lawn different than Davis, but we both think that we're being really efficient with how we're doing it, despite us doing two different things.
I pay an HOA to mow our grass.
Mm-hmm. There's the true efficiency, Garrett.
Yeah.
So, but that's my point. So I know I'm ranting, but like...
No, it's totally fine. I just kind of wanted to get some, do you guys have any closing arguments on this as well?
Well, I liked what you said about how unions aren't the end-all be-all, but we need to, have more government regulation and enforcement of laws that are on the book. And these corporations, like I said earlier in the segment, they only care about maximizing profits. They're not going to put the safety and well-being of their employees as their number one. It's just not how they work. And so since they don't want to operate that way, we need to put pressure on them so that they will operate in a way that benefits their employees and protects their employees so they don't freaking die by inhaling smoke because it's just smoke. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's just smoke. It's nothing hazardous.
It's just smoke.
I would say that what we need to do is we need to do more segments like this, and we need to educate people that they need to turn to the Department of Labor, and we need to organize. Like, I would love to see a million worker march on Washington, pushing Biden to actually enforce regulations on the book, on these corporations.
I agree.
Because if it happens across the board, then no one can complain about not being treated fairly.
Yeah.
The system needs to be challenged. This took 40 years to create, and it's probably going to take just as long to get rid of. And I know that really sounds shitty, but that's the reality of it. And we need to break these institutions down. And unions are a way of doing it, but we need to use already existing institutions of power, like our state governments, our local governments, and the federal government, as well as the courts, to break down these corporate interests. Because that's the reason why these corporations feel that they're able to get away with this. They know that they're not going to be prosecuted. They know that the people that are that would be the institutions that would prosecute them are told not to.
I love that. Honestly, that kind of reaches into like kind of my closing thoughts as well, is that we have tons of avenues to, I don't want to say attack, but to kind of like regulate how far a corporation is willing to exploit the workers. Like, we have all of these already available to us. We just need to educate ourselves and use them. So I thought this was like a really important segment here, just because there's like a lot going on just with one company right now. Like, we're hearing about deaths. We're hearing about like people getting disabled, and like no one seems to care. And so I really want us just to kind of like push for what we have. And I think a big part for me on this is we just also need to get like healthcare separated from work. Like, reading this one, I was like, so much of this could have been fixed just by having our healthcare separated from that. Because then even if someone loses a job or gets hurt on the job, they're taken care of at the end of the day.
Go medically bankrupt.
Exactly.
There's three things that I think, as leftist advocates, we want to see unions really pushing for. One of those is Medicare for all. But another one of those is we need to make sure that there are compensation funds for employees that, regardless if they're working for a company or not, they receive those compensation funds if they're injured on the job. And that needs to be enforced. And it's going to need to be enforced through contracts, through courts, and it's going to be long and it's going to be messy. And we need to change the language of the law. I know that sounds really nerdy, but that's how our legal system works. Yeah. Guess what? You're going to need nerds to figure this out.
True.
So, like, we need to form a more perfect union. Okay? And not just unions, but as a civilization, as a society. We need to stop, and it gets to the root thing of all of this, is we need to stop dehumanizing each other.
Yep.
All these people who work in this company, even if they hold shit ideas, hold innate value because they are human beings. And that needs to be our message going forward. I don't care if they voted for Trump. I don't care if they voted for Bush. I don't care. They
not required information for things like this.
Hold value as human beings. And we need to make sure that they know that we know that. That we're not doing this because we want to have power over them. We're doing this because we want to empower them.
That's why it's Medicare for all, not just Medicare for Democrats or whatever.
For Democrats, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's for all, whether you're left, right, center, or apolitical or whatever.
I agree.
Yep.
I just think obviously we have a lot of work cut out for us, but when don't we on this? Just something to pay attention to and something to advocate for. You guys have anything else on this?
I don't think so.
All right. Nick?
I'm good. Just
All right.
the thing is that, we got to hold Biden's feet to the fire. And if he says he's a pro-worker president, then we got to make him a pro-worker president. Nothing's ever been done through asking nicely for it.
Advocacy and pushing for what we need. Well, this has been Goodfellas history. If you guys like what you saw, please like and definitely subscribe, and we'll come out with more videos for you. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.